Hi beautiful souls, it's Tan back again today with you on this Astrology, Human Design and Jinkies channel. And today I have a very special video for you because we're going to be talking about Saturn moving into the sign of Pisces in March. But before we get started, I want to wish everyone a happy new year 2023. I'm sending everyone lots of love and joy this year. And it's been very interesting because I've been getting a lot of messages coming in 2023 from different astrologers and other human design guides out there about when the new year actually begins. Some people say that it begins when the sun transits Jinki 41, which is somewhere in February. Some astrologers say it's in March. You know what? I'm gonna celebrate the New Year's when my family and friends do it, because what's more important to me than being precise and accurate about when the new year actually begins and trying to impose that on others is to just celebrate. Every day is a new year for me. Every month is a new year. All right, so enough about that. I am coming to you today to talk about Saturn in Pisces. So 2 days ago, I went to watch Avatar, The Way of Water. And if you guys have watched that already, you will feel this Pisces energy coming in. And I wanted to bring some of the wisdom and messages and synchronicities from Avatar, The Way of Water into this video because it is released at the perfect time. As I'm making this video on January the 3rd of 2023, Saturn is still in Aquarius and it will move officially, finally, into Pisces on March 7th. 2023 and will stay there until February 2026, moving into Aries between May 23rd, 2025 to August 30th, 2025, and then coming back into Pisces. The way I like to look at Saturn is that Saturn represents the father principles within all of us. So what does that mean? So that means that Saturn represents the discipline part of us, the part of us that considers what should be done and what shouldn't be done. You know, what's kind of appropriate, quote, appropriate to do, what's proper to do based on societal expectations that have been taught to us by the fathering person in our lives. So this is what's going to be activated within all of us. Depending on which house this Saturn in Pisces is going to be in your chart, it will activate and make you question some of those father principles. The second thing that Saturn represents, and this is how I like to look at Saturn, is that Saturn represents karma. The number 8 in numerology is Saturn, and the infinity symbol is Saturn. So what this means is Saturn is that planet that is really going to tell us that what goes around comes around. So if you put in hard work into what you do, if you put discipline and structure in what you do, you will be rewarded in return. That's Saturn. And vice versa. If you are not structured or organized in what you do, if you have not put in the hard work with what you're doing, if you have not disciplined yourself throughout the process, you will not be rewarded. That's just the way that karma works. So it's the consequences of your thoughts, your actions, your words, your emotions, everything. All right, beautiful souls. So one of the reasons why I was really moved and felt like Avatar, The Way of Water was such a synchronicity is because, so if you know a little bit about Avatar, and there may be spoiler alerts at some point in this video, I'm not sure yet, but if you know about Avatar, you will know that Jake Sully and his family live in Omaticaya clan, not sure if I pronounced that correctly, and they are considered to be mountain people. They bond with certain creatures on Pandora that helps them to travel through flight. So what I felt, this message coming from where they were living as mountain people, was air. That was Aquarius energy. And so if you watch Avatar, The Way of Water, you'll know that they are in the second Avatar here, Jake Sully and his family are seeking refuge in a different clan. This other clan that they're seeking refuge in, they are sea people on Pandora. So I was like, oh my God, we're moving from this air to this water, and we can see that. And so there's going to be some adaptabilities, adjustments that have to be made when Saturn is changing signs. I'm going to summarize for you guys what the themes were for when Saturn was in Aquarius. So when Saturn was in Aquarius, Saturn is still in Aquarius for me, but when Saturn is in Aquarius, we have these themes, and you will have probably noticed this in your life, of you finding your tribe and finding your community, or building a community by being your individual self. So even if you're not, part of an actual physical community, but, you are finding belonging in some ways, or you're finding like-minded people in some ways. And Saturn is gonna, or has been, rewarding you if you have been your weirdo, eccentric self. If you have had courage and the self-discovery to bring out your individuality, you will be rewarded with the right people around you. And of course, vice versa. It will feel very restricting, very limiting if you have not brought your individuality into a group. There has also been this theme when Saturn is in Aquarius of rebirth and revolution that needs to be practical and radical rather than impulsive and spontaneous, because there are consequences of anger and reactivity that comes when we are being reactive. And there's this feeling of interconnectedness that is a mental interconnectedness that is coming from being able to mentally understand another person through empathy. That's where the change, the revolution is coming in Saturn Aquarius. And we also had these themes of pursuing our goals and our dreams and soaring to new heights, kind of like, flying in Pandora. And having the support, the community, the people around us to help us soar into these new revolutionary heights. So now Saturn moves into Pisces, and the themes of Saturn in Pisces now we see shift a little bit, and I'm going to go much deeper into these themes, but this is just a brief summary. We're seeing themes of, instead of building that community and that tribe, we make those tribes and those communities our family. We build family bonds with Saturn in Pisces. We turn those people into our families. We have, instead of mental interconnectedness through empathy, we have the emotional, or the heart interconnectedness through compassion. This is to really feel for the other rather than intellectually understanding where the other is coming from. That's the difference between the empathy of Aquarius and the compassion of Pisces. We are continuing to make our dreams a reality, pursuing our goals. But the further we pursue those goals and dreams, it's no longer as exciting as Aquarius. It's a little bit more that we now have to have some faith and trust in the bigger plan of the universe. So, some keywords based on the different gates and gene keys that are related to Pisces, which is, I'll just let you know which gate in human design, which gene key is related to Pisces. So we have the 55, gene key 55, we have gene key 36, we have gene key 63, gene key 37, gene key 22. So if you're not familiar with the gene keys, if this is the first time that you've heard of it or even heard of human design, I'm going to provide some links for you in the description box below so you can get an introduction into what the gene keys are, this very revolutionary way of approaching astrology. So I want to read you a quote from Avatar, The Way of Water, so that we can really feel into the Pisces energy. Because that's what we want to do. As we begin to move from Aquarius to Pisces, we want to come back to the heart, and we want to take ourselves away from the mind, come back to how we feel about something. So I'm going to read this quote from Avatar, The Way of Water, and I want you guys to really close your eyes and feel into this energy of water with me. The way of water has no beginning and no end. The sea is around you and in you. The sea is your home before your birth and after your death. Our hearts beat in the womb of the world. Our breath burns in the shadows of the deep. The sea gives and the sea takes. Water connects all things. Life to death, darkness to light. I'm going to go deeper into the various different themes of Saturn moving into Pisces and what we might be feeling at an individual level and also at a collective level. So the first theme that I'm going to address when it comes to Saturn moving to the sign of Pisces here are themes of materializing your dreams. Materializing Saturn, your dreams, Pisces. So we have here this energy of the magician, which is very much Saturn. Saturn makes use of the tools, the material things around you to create something truly magical, to bring your dreams alive. And then we have themes of abundance coming in, which is Pisces, spiritual abundance. So, Jupiter is a traditional ruler of Pisces, and Jupiter is known as the planet of abundance. So what is required for us during these times to materialize our dreams will be to, first of all, have a vision, to be a little bit big with our visions even, and to create some magic, a container, for which we want to hold our vision. Whatever that might be for you. Maybe it's a vision board, maybe it's a mind movie, maybe it's something that you actually draw with your own hands to give yourself the vision of what you want to, of your dreams, what those are, whether they're, dreams of love, dreams of romance, dreams of success, whatever it is, you want to make sure that you are visualizing those dreams. And then after that, you want to be realistic about it. You want to get organized. You want to start planning how you can make those dreams come true based on certain timelines and your limitations as well. So if you have these big dreams that you want to create, but you don't have the finances for it, you're not in the right stage of your life for it, then we're not being very realistic. That kind of made sense. So Capricorn Saturn wants to plant a seed and watch that seed grow, kind of like Cancer energy. That's why they're opposite signs. But Capricorn doesn't just want to plant any seed and watch that grow. It wants to plant a seed with a good intention. It wants to make sure that the reason behind the seed that you're planting is right. And when you bring those dreams into like a vision board or a mind movie, for example, you get to really feel into what would you really feel like if those visions that you had were to materialize, and whether it feels good for you or not. And if it doesn't feel good, it's not the right time for you to be planting certain seeds. But if it feels absolutely amazing and energizing and inspiring, then it is the right time for you to be planting those seeds. So the next theme that I want to share with you today when Saturn moves into Pisces are the themes of when you are materializing your dreams during these times, or whatever you might be going through when Saturn is in Pisces. You have to have faith. You have to be able to trust that the universe has a bigger plan for you out there. And this is PLAN, plan. Like the universe has planned this out for you. Very Saturnian in a sense. When we look at Pisces and the ocean and the water, like with regards to the quote that I just read before, water has been there long before you were born and will continue to exist even after you die. And so therefore, the universe is much wiser than you. The universe has been around much longer than you have. So whatever plans the universe has with regards to the timing of things that may happen for you, or the way that things may happen for you, trust that there is a reason for it. And you may not be able to logically understand it, but you will feel it in your heart. And you will have to surrender to whatever those plans that the universe might have for you. Although you will need to take action, like we just mentioned in number 1, you will need to be planning and organizing, but you have to let go eventually. And you have to take a deep breath. Calm your heart. This is from Avatar as well. I love that scene where she was just like training the Sully families to dive underwater, but they couldn't breathe underwater. And so she was like, if you want to breathe underwater, you have to stay calm. Calm your heart. Take a deep breath. Taking deep breaths, making sure that you have time every day to take a deep breath will help you have trust and have faith in the plan of the universe for your bigger dreams. So the next theme that I want to bring to you guys today with Saturn moving into Pisces is the theme of becoming more aware of the consequences of your actions through your compassion. So we're using our compassion, our emotions, and our heart to understand how our actions are going to be having a consequence towards us later or towards other people around us. So understanding the impact of our actions using our compassion, our heart. And a scene from Avatar that really illustrates this was one of the hunting scenes. So if you watch the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. There was a hunting scene. I can't remember what the creature was called. What's it called? Tuluk? I think it was like a Tuluk, the beautiful ocean whale-like creature. And humans, the sky people, were hunting them. And there was that hunting scene. And so we can see that in that kind of a situation, we are making a big impact in the environment and nature. And we made those kinds of negative impacts because we don't use our compassion and we don't use our heart. So when Saturn moves into Pisces, if you are using your heart right, if you are using your compassion when it comes to everything that you do, if you don't want something done to yourself, don't do it to others. That's the way that it works. And so if you are doing that, you will be rewarded with something beautiful towards the end of Saturn and Pisces energy. But if you are not, just like in Avatar, that hunting scene, and you are negatively impacting others, you are harming others with your actions in some ways because you're not using your compassion, you will see that come back to you. That is the law of karma. So one of the ways that you can make sure that you are in touch with your heart and your compassion before you take certain action is to make sure to breathe, is to calm your heart and breathe. Centering yourself in the way of water. All right, and so the next theme that I want to bring to you today with regards to Saturn moving to Pisces is the themes of the spiritual interconnectedness of all things. So people, animals, nature, the environment, that will result as well, again, in the law of karma. We have a lot of karmic themes when it comes to Saturn. So when we look at the father principles of Saturn here, we have to really consider what are these things that we think we should do, that we are being pressured by society to do, that doesn't get us in touch with our spiritual interconnectedness, because that will come back to us in a karmic way. Maybe it will damage our health. Maybe it will pull us back in our career, whatever that might be. So a really easy example of this is considering the impact on the environment when it comes to pollution, the food that we eat, the way that we damage the environment, because maybe we were taught or pressured by society to do things in a certain way. Like if everybody, in your people in your society, in your community around you that are still using plastic, for example, and when you don't use it, you find that you can't keep up with the lifestyle of your friends. So you are pressured to have to use plastic in some ways. Consider what those impacts have on the interconnectedness of things. Or, maybe it comes to the food that you eat and you're being, pressured to eat something that you feel is not good for the environment. It's not getting you in touch with the spiritual interconnectedness of things. But if you don't do it, you feel that it may not be proper, that you might not fit in. And so you are pressured to do that. Consider what box are you putting yourself in and what box the society is putting you in, and how can you create your own structure and foundations for how you can become more spiritually interconnected. And the fifth message that I want to give you today with Saturn moving into the sign of Pisces is, what are your principles when it comes to, or maybe it's your father's principles, when it comes to what is considered appropriate or proper? And this will vary for each one of us, depending on, which of your houses is ruled by Pisces, because that's the house that Saturn is coming into. That'll be the house that you will be required to reevaluate your sense, your principles around properness and appropriateness. And are they your principles or were they your father's principles? And this requires courage because this part of the Pisces energy is asking you to be brave. And I love Pisces because I think Pisces is one of the bravest signs of the zodiac because Pisces can really bring light to the darkness. And that's not easy to do because in order to bring light to the darkness, you have to go into the darkness. And so when we are having guilt or shame around what is proper and what's not proper, we have to go deep into our fears of why we are hiding our true self because of properness. What is properness? If, for example, if you are wanting to pursue something in your career, maybe it's something of the occult, right? But you've been taught by your family that that was not proper or appropriate, that you needed to get a more traditional career. You have to really evaluate that and see why are you what is the darker side of yourself that really fears making these changes? Is it because maybe you fear change? Maybe you fear not belonging in your family. Maybe there's a fear that, you will be teased or rejected by your family. Maybe it's a fear that you're going to be separated from the people you love. And what are the traumas that is associated with those fears? So these are very Piscean types of work that you will have to do in order to get in touch with your own sense of appropriacies and properness, rather than living your life based on somebody else's sense of appropriacies and properness. And ultimately, once you make this kind of a seeking journey and this kind of transformation, you're ultimately giving yourself the gift of love, of self-love, and of self-acceptance. So the last message that I want to share with you today with regards to Saturn moving sign Pisces is that these are going to be the times when we are going to be asked to build certain containers that will help us to create magic in our lives. Pisces is very magical. And of course, if you, again, watch Avatar: The Way of Water, you will see that the kid was Cutie. Jake Sully's, well, I wouldn't say she's Jake Sully's daughter, but considered part of the Sully family. She has a little bit of that magicalness in her. But she needs a container where she can cultivate that magic. She needs to be able to use certain tools around her, and for her the tools were the creatures around her. The sea creatures around her gave her that magic, right? So that's kind of the theme here as well. It's kind of like when you have water and if you think about like a snow globe, right? A snow globe is so magical. There's water inside it and you can create magic inside there. But if you take away the glass of that snow globe, magic can no longer exist. So the Saturn and the Pisces come together and it's asking you to create a container, create a foundation for yourself in which magic can then bloom, however way you want to interpret magic in your life. All right, so those are some of the themes that I wanted to share with you guys today with Saturn moving sign of Pisces. For the next part of this video, I wanted to talk about how you may be impacted by this and who may be mostly impacted by this based on your birth chart placements. So if you have a Saturn in Pisces in your chart, first of all, this means you're going through one of your Saturn returns. Maybe it's your first Saturn return, maybe it's your second, maybe it's your third Saturn return, maybe it's your fourth Saturn return, but you're going through a Saturn return, and that is big for you because, and especially if it is your first Saturn return, these are very, very new themes that are coming into your life. These are the first restructuring that you're doing here in your life. And I just want to say in advance, happy, sweet Saturn return. I think Saturn return is the true time of maturity, not when you turn 16. So happy, sweet Saturn return to those of you who have Saturn Pisces. And so if you have your angles or angular houses. So the angles are the ascendant, the midheaven, the IC, and the descendant. Or if you have one of the angular houses, so the 1st, the 10th, the 4th, or the 7th, these are sensitive points in the birth chart. If any of those houses are ruled by Pisces, so what that means is that if you have one of those angles or houses ruled by Pisces, it's most likely that you'll have some of the other angles or houses ruled by Gemini, Sagittarius, or Virgo. So the mutable angles and mutable angular houses are going to also be heavily affected by this. This is interesting because if you have like if you have mutable angular houses or you have mutable angles in general, you are very restless and you have been going through these times of like restlessness, of a lot of change, a lot of experimentation, a lot of learning, a lot of like gathering, information and experience in your life. But then suddenly Saturn comes in one of your angles or angular houses and stabilizing that for you, at least for the next 3 years. You will feel a little bit more stable, whether you like that or not, whether it's the right time in your life for that or not. But you will be asked to become a little bit more structured in whichever house, Saturn is in. So for Gemini risings, Saturn is going to be like in your 10th house. That's your career. Become a little bit more structured in your career. If it's a Sagittarius rising, Saturn's going to come in here and it's going to be in your 4th house. That's your home. You're going to actually have to be considering settling down to a magical home. If it's Pisces rising, then it's in your 1st house. So your life path, your sense of identity becomes a little bit more structured, and your energy as well. If you are a Virgo rising, then it's going to be in your 7th house. So your relationships, that's a bit of an interesting one. So it's your relationships that are going to be a bit more structured. You're going to either be settling down, depending on other placements in your chart, or you're going to be breaking off some old ties in order to make more new ties that are going to be in alignment with your Pisces principles. So it's going to be differently for everyone. And if you have a lot of planets in your chart, especially personal planets that are in the sign of Pisces, Gemini, Virgo, or Sagittarius, you are also going to be feeling this energy a lot. It's going to be very energetic for you to take action on the Saturn and Pisces themes that we just talked about previously. So, if you have like Sun in Pisces, Moon in Sagittarius, maybe you have a Venus in Pisces as well. That's a pretty strong mutable sign theme in your chart. So look out for that as well. But whether or not you have these particular placements that I just mentioned, you will still feel the energy of the Saturn in Pisces. You will still feel the themes that we discussed. There might just be other priorities for you at this point, rather than the priorities that I mentioned. All right, beautiful souls. So I think that's going to be it for this video of Saturn moving to the sign of Pisces. So how have you been feeling this Saturn and Pisces energy? Comment below and share with us if you have any of the placements that I mentioned, or if you are feeling, resonance with any of the themes that I discussed and how you see the Saturn and Pisces coming into play for you. And before I finish off, I just wanted to give you a short announcement with regards to my channel this year. I am going to be a little bit more structured with my career because I was Gemini rising. But I am planning on beginning in February, finishing off my Gene Keys series, my 64 Gene Keys series. I can't remember how much I've done, but I have 29 more Gene Keys to go. So you can definitely be expecting to watch a video on your Gene Key. If I haven't made any Gene Keys recently that you have in your chart yet, you will definitely be able to get that throughout February and March of this year. So I want to finish that series off so that we can move on to other things. And I know I've been keeping you guys waiting since 2020. I started to make my first Gene Key video in 2020 and it's 2023 now and I haven't even finished that series yet. But there's a lot. There's like 64 Gene Keys, right? But now I'm organized this year. I'm putting some structures in there and I want to finish that series off. And after that, I will be letting you guys know what plans I have there. But it's going to be very fun and exciting this year. So that's it, beautiful souls. If you are interested in getting a reading, whether that's a birth chart, gene keys, or human design from me or any one of the amazing and wonderful astrologers on my team, feel free to head over to our website and check it out. And sending everybody much love today. I really appreciate you guys coming along on this journey with me for however long you've been on. And this is only the beginning. And there's going to be a lot more astrology, human design, amazing spiritual content coming for you guys. Yay!